It changes the sound and the sights and the smells.
And it was just like kind of weird magic. Who knew, you know? We had this ability to just have pleasant, easygoing conversations with each other and discuss our lives and whatever we wanted to argue about philosophy or politics.
The very first ride was exciting because we had flyers to give to people standing on the sidewalk watching us go by and to drivers in their cars. And we spent a lot of time interacting with those people very directly, face to face on the ride. That was really fun because you could see people lighting up and thinking, what a great idea.
It was just really fun to be with that many people on bikes in the streets.
It was so euphoric.
I counted each month. I would stand on a trash can and watch the ride as it set out on the beginning of its route and count by twos at first and later by tens, and I kept counting until it was well into the multiple thousands.
A lot of people owned it in their own way.
And there's people playing music, whether it's drumming or, you know, like percussion on their bikes or bells. It was very like exciting and energizing.
And there's so few places like that in culture in our society where everything's about buying and selling.
That San Francisco had a special moment. Chris Carlson was talking about a group of people getting together to ride home together after work.
We were discussing bicycles and politics. We thought, let's try to do something with bikes. Why not? We're on bikes already. Let's ride bikes. And so the concept emerged
as a social movement and political movement that could, in ways that are unmeasurable, affect the future of the cityscape and public space.
And one of the motivations for a lot of us was just to create a space on the road. Like, let us have space on the road, please.
We want to actually be respected in this space too.
Our assertion created the possibility for a more dignified experience of bicycling in cities.
It was an indication of how much influence bicycles as an image in political society have.
It's really different today than it was 19 years ago, really different.
Immediately after I am on critical mass and I'm on my bike and I'm away from the rest of the riders, I feel like the streets are mine in a different way. I feel like I have surrounding support still, just when I'm riding alone.
I find it's a great opportunity to just sort of explore connections and the human condition and the streets of the city and people around me.
The city is an amazing geographic place. Let's get out there and see it. Four big companies put together into a consortium, and they created a company called National City Lines, and they bought up all the streetcar systems that still existed in the 1940s. and systematically modernized them by converting them to buses and tearing out the trains. All of them had a monetary interest in that, and they were found guilty of conspiracy in a court, and they were fined $5,000 for having destroyed the public transit system in the United States. And so in San Francisco and in New York and in Boston, there were citizens' revolts against freeway building, and thank goodness there were, because our favorite neighborhoods in the United States today are the neighborhoods that were saved from the wrecking ball by those citizens' revolts.
I think it's important to get rid of everything about the car culture, almost every single thing about the car culture, and it's going to be a very big task, very big task.
There should be a kind of a sense of solidarity across the choice of vehicles instead of one of hostility.
The change in critical mass since I started riding around 2003, it's been harder. It feels harder. It feels more combative. It feels less celebratory.
Tell these guys. That man needs a stoker! Hey, let's pick up! Hey, pick it up!
Young men who had this sort of delusional idea that there's a class war between cars and bikes. And frankly, both cars and bikes are inanimate objects. They're not capable of having a class war.
People see it as an opportunity to unleash anger. So I was almost run over by a car on Union Square. Car wheel almost on my bike wheel, starting to bend it. People automatically, to a large degree, have a really negative attitude towards critical mass.
In 1997, I was at the police riots, and I was right near Willie Brown when he tried to announce happy things to the crowd and make the best of the situation when he realized it wasn't in his control.
Stay up on the sidewalk, please. Stay up on the sidewalk. You stay up.
That was amazing. I knew it was going to be a huge and confrontational ride, and it was. And it was scary when the police started showing that they were going to shut down the ride as best they could.
I think in general, police having to accompany the ride is really unnecessary. And that feels largely like harassment to me, because it almost implies that we are not responsible for ourselves. And I think that that's the whole point of the ride.
And if you look at 19 years of experience, nobody's ever been killed. Nobody's ever even been seriously hurt.
Trying to be engaged in various ways, and that means if there's something really kind of verging on the violent, that there's someone who's willing to step in with a little bit clearer head.
That speaks really loudly to the ability of people to manage difficult confrontations in the heat of the moment through their own goodwill and their own humanity.
It's often painted as an angry gathering, and I think that the nuances of what's there, the celebratory nature, is never really accurately portrayed.
If you break out of that logic, you can start seeing that there's really different possibilities out there, and the bicycle opens the door to those kinds of thoughts.
It's a very freeing tool for a world that needs to back off of convenience and think instead more about opportunities to balance out the natural systems.
You have to be willing to take a chance.
The relationship that a bicycle maintains for a person with the nature and the environment around and the friends you see and those kinds of things you don't get when you're in a metal box.
And so suddenly we'd created a free space. And it wasn't a free space that was fixed in time or space, it was actually open, and it kept moving. And it kept moving month after month, as well as geographically through the city. And it turned out it just moved from city to city as well and spread all over the world.